Hello, welcome to my video on how to map a purchased sequence in xLights. Recently I saw a couple people on Facebook, on the xLights support group on Facebook, that were just basically asking, like, you know, I'm new to this, who can I pay to map a sequence for me? Or they're asking all these really complex details about how to map sequences themselves. And when people ask me how I got into this, you know, what I tell them is I've only ever mapped one actual full song myself. I've got 35 songs in my program, in my playlist. I've only ever mapped one full song myself, and that's just because I can't find it anywhere else. Every song, pretty much every song you can think of, has probably been mapped by someone, and they probably sell it somewhere, or it's freely available. And I'll put a bunch of links to these places in the description of this video. But basically, my recommendation is go out to one of these places that sell sequences for $20 or $30 or $40 a song, and then go through this process we're going to go through. And in like 5 minutes, you can have a really well mapped song. So that's what I'm going to go through real quick, is just how to do that. I've got a song I purchased that's new this year from a vendor I like, and so I'm going to show that to you, and you're going to get to see the whole process. And it'll take 8 minutes, 9 minutes, or whatever, because we're doing a video on it. But you could do it in just 2 or 3 minutes if you know what you're doing. So, all right, so let's get to it. What you can see here is just my my xLights layout. This is kind of what my layout looks like right now. I'm kind of in the middle of adding some things. That's not really the point of this video, but it'll help us try a couple things here in a minute. But ultimately, the main thing you have to start this, to download a mapped sequence from someone and map it to your show, import it into your show, the main thing you have to have is you have to have all your props organized well. That's the main thing. So you'll learn after you map a few songs what the best organization is, and you can change it midstream. You can try it again and try it again and try it again, and that's the cool thing about this process. But ultimately, there's some common things you're going to want to have, and I'll just tell you what those are. You want to have a group that's it's everything, right? You always want to have this. Every sequence you download is going to have this. And then you want to have something that's like everything that's on your house. And then everything, for me, if the sequence calls for like a house outline, I actually use house and landscaping, because I wanted to use all these bulbs that are on my house and that are in the landscaping are the same. It's a C9 bulb that's 6-inch spacing, so I include that all in house or house outline. And then you break down the others. You usually want to have a house verticals and a house horizontals. A lot of the sequences will map that way, so you can have the vertical bars show up or the horizontals. And maybe you want just a roof. Maybe you just want the left side or the right side, so on and so forth. Just the main roof line. Depends on what sequence you're mapping. You'll find that some look better than others. You want to have all your trees, what I call mini trees. I call my trees, basically, it's every tree that's in my show that's not a mega tree. You want to have your mega tree grouped together really well. So my mega tree is done with multiple controllers, so it's actually 2 halves, and so I have to have a group for that. I have all my piece stakes in a group together. I have all my arches together. There we go. All my arches. I have all my snowflakes together. So if you had candy canes, put all your candy canes together. If you have stars, I do have some of those. I've got some what I call mini stars. I have all those together. I'm going to add some more this year, so on and so forth. So group your logical things together in the types of props that you've bought, that you've made. And once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to do the import. So let's go ahead and create a sequence from scratch. It'll just take a couple minutes. Not from scratch. We'll create a sequence using xLights, and then we'll import a purchased sequence. And so from nothing to a really good looking sequence will just take a few minutes. So let's do that. All right. So I'm going to go to my sequencer. I appear to have one open. Let me close this. I don't want to save this. Alright, so we're going to go to my sequencer. It should look like this. I'm just going to expand this out so we can kind of see what this is going to look like. Alright, and then we're going to create a new sequence. I'm going to go File, New Sequence, and it's going to make me pick a song or a video. We're always going to do a musical sequence. So at this point, I need to have imported and I need to have downloaded the sequence that I've purchased. So I'm going to show you the one that I'm going to show you the one that I've purchased. So rgb-sequences.com, they put out one here in the last few weeks called the Wizards of Winter. And the reason I like RGB sequences, I've used probably 5 or 8 different vendors, but I like RGB sequences because they tend to have multiple versions and their pricing's pretty good. So they have a Lite layout. If you don't have a ton of props yet, Lite layout's great because you can easily map it. It's only got 10 or 15 different things you map and it looks good. It's also usually half the price of one with moving heads. So Lite layout is $20 in this case. And then they've got an HD layout. This one maps a lot more things. Sorry, just regular, yeah, without the moving heads. This one maps more, it's $30. Then they've got an HD with moving heads for $40. If you don't have moving heads, don't pay for it. So I usually purchase the Lite layout because this is my 3rd year, my 1st and 2nd year. I cover a lot of area with my show, but I don't actually have that many different kinds of things. And so the Lite layouts looked really good. But this year I was like, I'm adding a bunch of stars. I'm going to add a bunch of candy canes and a snowman and some singing bulbs and some other stuff. So I'm going to start getting those more complex layouts. So I picked the HD layout without moving heads for $30, and I ended up getting it with like a 40% promotion during July, and so it ended up being like $17 or something. So it really wasn't bad. You can kind of scroll through and see this tells me what that HD layout includes. So it's going to have a house and snowflakes, all these different snowflakes that I don't actually have, so I don't need to map them. And then it's going to have all the normal things: arches, snowflakes, trees, mini trees, spiral trees, stakes, all this stuff. So this helps you decide which one you want to buy. And you can see a preview of what it's going to look like with moving heads, what it's going to look like without moving heads, and what the Lite layout's going to look like. Most of the sequence websites do this, so it's a pretty good common feature. So I've already purchased this. I've already downloaded it. When you purchase it, you get an email. The email gives you a link. You go to the link, you download the file. And what it downloaded is this. And I've already put it in the place. This is the one thing I have done ahead of time is I have my sequences folder. I created a folder that's going to contain the sequence that we're mapping for Wizards of Winter. All I've put in here is the file that I purchased. The XSQZ is a new xLights format for sequences that you can import, and then the MP3 that goes along with that. That is one thing. If you look on their website, they always say the audio can be purchased. The MP3s are not included as a purchase as part of your sequence. So all the vendors are going to provide a link. You click that link, it takes you to Amazon, probably takes you to the exact song that was used to create that sequence. So come on, in this case it's Wizards of Winter instrumental from some album. It's already highlighted. It's $1.29. Buy it, download it. So I've already done that also. And so I've downloaded the MP3 and I've got the XSQZ. Now just a quick note, this XSQZ is new. So if you're running an older version of xLights, you may not be able to import an XSQZ. But all this is a zip file. They just changed the extension, I think because they wanted to be kind of branded for xLights. But literally you can change this from .xsqz to .zip and it will work. You can drill into it, you can copy stuff out of it. It's just a zip file. So don't worry about that. If you have an older version, it works. If you want to update to the newest version of xLights, you can do it like this. So I'm going to move this over. So what I need to do now, I'm looking for that MP3. So I need to go into my sequences folder, into my Wizards of Winter folder, and select my MP3. This is how we're going to start pretty much any sequence, whether we're going to do a custom import or we're going to do whether we're going to do a purchased sequence import or we're going to do a custom mapping. So we always have to start with a song. I do all mine with 20 frames per second. It's more than enough. And then I click done. So that brings over the song and sets up the sequence, and I can play it now. Obviously, there's nothing I can put this in the song. So that's set me up with the right song. So now all I need to do is I need to import the sequence that I purchased. Super easy. Go to import effects. And then we find the XSQZ in this case, or the zip file if this is one that we purchased from somewhere else, or if we're using an old version of xLights. I'm going to open that XSQZ and it's going to bring me to the mapping screen. So this is where I was saying it's important that we have our stuff organized well, because we're going to map groups in our show to groups from this incoming show. So you can notice, we'll scroll through it real quick. There's a bunch of stuff in here we're not going to use. I don't have an Ice Queen snowflake. I don't have fan arches. I don't have a MOAW, any of this junk. I don't have any Rosa wreaths. I don't have PPD stuff. I don't have radio. I don't have showstopper. I don't have any of this stuff. So I'm not going to map those because I don't have them. Now, let's say I have a custom thing. I do have a custom snowflake that has three circles around it. It's a custom thing I built on my first year. I'm going to find something that maps to that pretty well. And maybe it's one of these other spinners or one of these snowflakes or something. I could try them and see it both ways. But what I do notice is I do have an all. I do have arches. I'm going to have candy canes. I do have house horizontals, all this house stuff. I do have a matrix, megatree, so on and so forth. So we're going to go down this list, and everything we find that sounds like something we have, we're just going to drag it to where it goes over here. So I'm going to start with all. All goes to all. Just click and drag. Arches goes to arches. I don't have this. I don't have my candy canes in this show yet. Actually, I have a folder for it. There's no actual candy cane props. But when I'm mapping to groups, this actually works really well. Even though I don't have the candy cane props yet, I'm going to go ahead and map that, because then when I do put the candy cane props in the candy cane group, literally all I have to do is re-render my sequence and all that stuff's going to come over. It's going to be great. So, all right, so I'm going to map that. I'm going to come down. I don't have any of this stuff. House horizontals. All right, so now we hit some stuff I do have. House horizontals, house outline. I'm going to map to my house and landscaping, because like I said, I want to include all the C9 6-inch spacing bulbs in the house outline. House verticals. Icicles I don't have. Sometimes if the sequence you're importing doesn't have P stakes or pixel poles or whatever, but it does have icicles and you have P stakes or pixel poles, then you can map the icicles to the P stakes. This vendor actually told me that their preference is to map spiral trees to P stakes. So if the sequence that you purchase doesn't have pixel poles or P stakes, but it does have spiral trees, then map that to your P stakes. Just a quick note. Let's see, matrix. I do have a matrix. I have two actually. I've got one called matrix. We'll go ahead and map this, but ultimately I wouldn't do this on a real show because this matrix is actually my my FM station sign. It sits off to the side of my house so it doesn't distract anything. But this is a good example. I can map something over here to multiple things in my show because I have a matrix that's in an upstairs window called Window TV. It's a virtual matrix. I'm going to map this to that also. Now I've got to click and drag because it went away. No, let's not do that. I'm going to click on that. Drag. Dadgummit. It's very tedious. Let it get down there. So this is gonna, I'm sure there was a quicker way to do that. This is a virtual matrix, so it's a TV, but it's set up in xLights as a matrix with a resolution and everything. So just one way to get, you can use TVs and projectors this way. I just called my window TV. All right, so I definitely have a mega tree. Let's keep going. Don't want to lose my spot. So I've got a mega tree. I've got a mega tree star. I've got mini tree stars. For me, they're just called mini stars. And I've got mini trees, but I call those trees. So I'm going to map that. And then I don't have any of this wreath stuff. They have pixel poles. I have P stakes right here. I don't have any of this radio stuff. Showstopper, I don't have that. Go back to the bottom. I do have snowflakes, so let's map that. And then I don't have mine with submodels for outline or spoke, so I'm going to leave those alone. And I don't really have any of this other stuff. One thing I did notice, it has a spinners group. Now I have, my center snowflake has 3 circles around it like I mentioned before. They kind of work like spinners. So I'm going to map that spinners group to the circle. That's actually 3 circles, but it's the center of my display. So I'm going to map that there. Oh, that was wrong. Spinners group. And I think that's probably it. I'm going to scroll up to see if I missed anything. There's nothing really obvious. Everything's mapped pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with this. I want to try it. There's no harm in trying it and then coming back. What we need to remember is before we leave, we want to save this mapping, because if I just hit OK, it's going to bring all that stuff in to my show. But if I want to change something, I come back and redo the import, it won't remember all the stuff I've mapped. So I always want to go, let's save this mapping first. I'm going to save it in the sequence folder, call it mapping.xmap, and save. So that's just making sure I don't have to redo this mapping over and over again. So now I'm going to click OK, and it's going to apply all those changes. It brought in a whole bunch of stuff. So now I want to see what this looks like. I need to render my show. So let's do that. Click this button up here. Give it a minute. we can see that it's rendering things. And the ones that are slower are the things that have more effects on them, or they're denser props or something like that. Like this mega tree is 3,500 pixels, I think. The window TV is a virtual matrix, but it still treats it like pixels. So those things might take a second. Your computer can speed that up, so on and so forth. All right, so it's good. So now I get to test and kind of see how it's going to look. So let me move this over, make this a little bigger, and let's see. Yeah, so this part, it looks pretty good. I mean, this is just from the basic mapping I just did, so it looks fairly good. I mean, I can see the front and back sort of effect, the house, the landscaping is lighting up. So I'm kind of looking for just things here that don't look right. Maybe something's missing or it's not lighting up at all. So I'm kind of looking for that. And really everything looks pretty good, except I can see there's this snowman sitting over here that isn't lighting up. He's a little bit of a problem because he doesn't necessarily have a good direct sequence map in this rgb-sequences thing that I downloaded. But we're going to map something to it. So let's go ahead and do that. Go back to the mapping screen and we're going to map something to that. Alright. So let's say I just want to put that snowflake somewhere and make sure it lights up. Well, the way I'm going to do that, one, is I just added the snowflake. So I'm going to go to my layout. I keep saying snowflake, I'm sorry, snowman. I've got this 8-foot Boscoyo high-res decor snowman. And so I just added it, but if I look at it, like when I select all, snowman's not included in all because it's new. And so I need to go fix that. I need to add the snowman to that. So I'm going to scroll down here on my mapping screen, or my layout screen. I'm going to find that snowman, which honestly I have no clue what I called it. Man? Yeah, standing snowman. Okay, good. I'm going to drag him over here into the group. So now it makes sure that he's included in the all group. So anything that's mapped to all in this sequence, all I have to do is save this, come back over to my sequencer. I don't have to re-import or anything because he's in the all group and the all group's mapped already. I would just have to re-render. Now notice something, there's not a lot happening in the all group. So snowman's going to light up, but he's not going to light up very often. I would rather him light up with one of these other things. And this is a singing snowman. The sequence doesn't have any vocals with it or anything. And so I'm not going to get into how I actually get him to work like a singing snowman. It's not the point of this video. But I can just map something else to him. So I'm going to go back to the mapping screen, import effects. And I'm going to import that same XXQZ. Notice, like I said before, it forgot all my mappings. I need to load that mapping file that I created. So now I don't have to redo all that stuff. And then I'm going to go down and find Standing Snowman here. And I need to do something with it. So I'm going to find something over here that I could just map to. It's not going to look perfect because there's no Standing Snowman over here. But I can at least say, let's just grab spiral trees. I mean, it doesn't really matter what I grab. It's not going to look right. But there's a lot of effects on spiral trees. Snowman's going to light up. That's what this is basically going to do. There's 587 effects on spiral trees. I'm going to map spiral trees to Standing Snowman. I'm going to save my mapping. Overwrite that file. Then I'm going to hit OK to apply it. And now Snowman's going to have some stuff going on. So now I'm going to re-render. Let that go. And this is the process. You do an import, you check it, you see if you like the way it looks. If it doesn't, you go back, you find a different thing. Make sure you save the mapping every time or you have to redo those things. Once it's done rendering, we can see how much Snowman lights up. As your shows get more complicated like this, I'm adding actually 3 singing faces here. The snowman will have a singing bulb on either side. You know, I've got 3 singing faces to map now, so that's going to make things a little more complicated. Some sequences that you purchase will have singing faces included with them. RGBs don't for this song. So let's see how this looks. So now it's going to light up with the spiral trees because that's what I mapped to it. So, but we can see it is lighting up. Again, it's not perfect for a snowman, but it's better than nothing. And you know, when I get some time later on in the season, I may be able to come back and do the actual singing faces. But like I said, I have 30 some odd songs, so I'm not sure I'm going to get to it. But no, it looks pretty good. I've got sort of front and back stuff happening, left to right stuff happening. Everything's lighting up. There's going to be a lot of candy canes and other stuff that come along with this, so I'm pretty happy with this. That's really all it takes. You know, just, I mean, it's taken 20 minutes in this video, but if I was doing this without talking through it, I could do it in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes easily. Cool. I think it looks good. You know, don't spend so much time trying to map and sequence songs. Buy like 5 or 7 songs for $20 each or something, and just come in literally 5 minutes each. 5 minutes and get them knocked out. Spend your time building props and adding to your show. And then there'll be a point where your show's complicated enough that you want to come in and do things like I'm going to do this year with singing faces. You know, I'm going to have a projector with some different music videos and stuff on it. Just things that are going to make it a little more complex. But my recommendation is buy some of these songs. I'll put the links to several of the common websites. You know, if you look at my sequences folder, I like to name things with the vendor that I used. I've used 5 or 7 different vendors, and they're all good. So RGB and EFL, Showstopper, who else? EFL, Visionary, BF Light shows, Inspire Light shows, Fairy Pixel Dust. So there's all sorts of vendors out there that are doing this, and there's resources for free sequences. I'll put that link into the description as well. So that's my recommendation. Hope this was helpful. You know, just trying to make it so that you know, people don't spend a ton of time when it really is easy to get nice looking sequences. Now, if you want a specific song and you can't find it, that it's on you at that point. Like I said, I have one sequence where I've never seen one song that I found that I've never seen anybody else sequence it. It's a Snoop Dogg song, Doggy Dog Christmas, that is an absolutely hilarious song, and so I mapped that one myself. It's not great, but it's fun, and I have a music video that goes along with that. So that's about the only case where I would map something from scratch until you're several years in and you have, you know, 10 or 15 or 20,000 lights and dozens of props and everything, and then it starts to make more sense to get better at sequencing. So, like I said, hope this helps. Good luck with your show this year. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks.